Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacqueline. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacqueline at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hi, red.olaughlin here on Talking Heads show for the USA Global TV and Radio Network. And today we're following in the third show out of 6 on post-pandemic health. And let me go ahead and just jump right straight into my slideshow, slides, Talking Heads, and disclaimer. I am not a doctor, never been in the medical field, never been in the pharmaceutical field. I'm a researcher. I research the human body at the cellular level, chemically speaking. I look for cause and effect relationships. Treat a cause, fix a problem. Treat a symptom, and you'll always be treating symptoms. I look at what happens in the human body and what can we do to accelerate something, decelerate something, shut it down completely, inhibit it. What other things have worked, don't work, and what are the side effects of those things. So I try to look at everything that's about a particular disease. Now, my specialty for what I speak about, write about, is longevity. So I'm more interested in age-related diseases, dementia, Parkinson's, and autoimmune diseases. Those are the things that, to me, you have osteoarthritis, you have rheumatoid arthritis. The symptoms are very, very similar. The causes are different. The treatment is different. And again, I can't prescribe anything, but if somebody were to ask me, Red, if you had osteoarthritis, what would you do? Well, I say, if I had it, this is what I do. I can't tell anybody what they do. So, and I make sure that's very clear. So I'm not anything that I'm prescribing, but I also am very emphatic. If you have a condition right now and you're on prescription medicine, your doctor's treating you, I give you a lot of information out. It's there for awareness first. Number 2, education. So if you have something and you say, hey, doctor, go visit your doctor. What do you think about doing this? And literally, I've seen very, very good results of saying, Doc, can I do this for a while? And so long as it's brought up by the patient, they don't mind doing things, especially if you have some background information. Lots and lots of things that I've passed on to other people and say, hey, I was surprised that my doctor let me do it. So that's part of what I'm trying to do, is give you options. But we're talking about our post-pandemic planning. If we get started now, we're going to be way ahead of the game. We're going to immune system's going to be perking along. We're just going to actually be a very good. So we're looking at what's critical. Where do we start? And obviously we have the time and cost, but more importantly, what is your goal? I mean, if the pandemic's over in 2 years, great. If it's over in 5 years, probably more realistic. What does over really mean? So that's sort of what we're at. So what do professionals think is important when we're looking at a post-pandemic world? Well, there's just a lot of categories, and we've talked about several of these already, but exercise and diet, 2 big things in everybody's life. Toxins, they're there, but most of us really don't pay much attention to them. Fiber, again, one of those things that helps us a lot. Sleep, something we do every day. Hydration, something most of us do pretty well. Smoking, alcohol, we all have vices in our lives. Those are just a couple. Stress management happens to all of us all the time. Stress, how do we manage it? How often do we manage it? Are we getting enough sunshine? Weight management, relationships, healthy fats. I mean, just a lot of things there. How are we challenging our mind to keep our mental health, our emotional health in check? Annual physicals, those are the things there. And the one thing that we really need to concentrate on, maybe not absolutely first, but very near the front end, is inflammation. Let's go ahead. What causes, see, I thought I need to jump down to where we were at last time, because we talked about these last week. Okay. We talked about, here we go. I believe this is where slide 8 is where I left off last week. Exercise. What are we doing on a regular basis? Daily, weekly? What we have a habit of doing has a tendency to continue. If we're going out for a walk 5 days a week, for 30 minutes, that's probably going to continue right into the post-pandemic world. If we're going to the gym 4 days a week and we're working out for an hour, hour and a half, and we're doing various cardio and flexibility and whatever, those are things that are going to continue because that's what we value as important. We wouldn't be there unless we did. But exercise gets that extra oxygen into the bloodstream. It gets that moved to our brain, through all our cells. It's something that we really need to do, but it's more than just going and lifting weights. It's more than going out and running 4 or 5 miles. There's a lot of aspects of exercise that we need to take into account. You need some cardio. You need some strength training. As we get older, we need more and more balance and flexibility training. Endurance needs to be worked in with everything else. Many years ago, I used to run generally 5 to 6 to maybe 8 miles a day, nearly every day. I was just something I love to do. I would run more in the summertime because I like the heat, particularly living in the New Orleans area or Houston area. But in the wintertime, my running long distance kind of really subsided. So I started switching over to running sprints. Nowadays, I would rather run 10 100-yard dashes, each one faster than the previous. That's my cardio exercise for the day. My endurance has slipped because I'm no longer doing it. I didn't realize how much balance was part of the being human. I had a knee surgery probably about 3 4 years ago, and it amazed me in my rehab how long it took just to be able to stand on one leg. My right knee, if I try to stand on my right foot, I could maybe stand without holding on to something for half a second, maybe a second. I had no balance. I had to spend a lot of time getting the strength back in the legs balanced and getting my balance back together. It took more than a month before I was able to actually stand on that one leg for 2 minutes without falling over or having to touch something. So it's important. And if we don't put that importance in there as we get older, now we're going to have balance issues. We're going to have strength issues. We're going to have probably more than likely bone density issues. And so those are things that if we start looking at now, not only for a post-pandemic world, but realistically for the rest of our lives, we don't want to get into our 80s and then face a situation where, okay, who's going to be changing your diaper for the next 10 years? That's not a quality of life that we want to have. We want to have a quality of life where we can do what we want to do that we used to do in our 30s and 40s, well into our 70s, 80s, and beyond. Are we looking at body weight exercises versus gym weights? Now, there's a guy, let me think of his name here real quick. I had it about 3 minutes ago when I saw my slide there. I was going to come back to it. He used to do gym weights. He was one of the first Americans ever to win a world martial arts contest over in Asia. Matt Fury, Furey. He has three basic exercises he does with body weights. He trains a lot of athletes to rehab after injuries, but he specializes in nothing but body weight exercises. There's no reason to go to a gym. There you have everything you need literally in your own body weight to do what you need to do. And so he has, like I say, his basic set of weight training that he does, but just using his body weight only. We look at what is the intensity and duration of the weight. If I go out walking for an hour, okay, that's a little bit different than jogging for an hour. That's a whole lot different than running 100 yards full out as fast as you can possibly do it. So the duration, the intensity are important. But actually, what's more important when you look at how healthy are you, it's your recovery and your rest period. So as a 30-year-old, you can probably go out and work 4 or 5 days a week doing the same kinds of stuff. You start getting into your 50s, you really need that extra rest day or 2 extra rest days. You get into later 60s, 70s, 80s, you really need to okay, today is going to be whatever this is. Then you need that recovery time from the exercise, whatever you're doing, and the overall rest period in that. Weight management and measurement. Well, I did a little session just very recently on fat management. What causes fat to go into a fat cell? What causes fat to come out of a fat cell? What causes fat to burn? What stops fat from burning? So if you understand what are the chemical reasons that fat will go into or out of a fat cell, what causes your fat to burn and what stops it from burning, those are things that you have control over. They're very, very simple. There's not that many things that will stop fat from burning on a dime. I mean, yeah, they're there. There's a few things that will absolutely push fat into your fat cell. But once you understand what they are, then you are in control of making those things happen. And so as you're starting to say, okay, fine, I'm 3 or 4 inches over what I want to be. Uh, what can I do about it? Well, number one, do it incrementally. You don't need to take it all off at one time. You can, yes, it's fairly easy to do. Uh, there are things out there, but there's also risks that go with each one of them. So if I go on an Atkins or keto kind of diet, what are my, and they're not side effects, what are my risks that I'm giving up when I get onto a more fat and protein diet as compared to one that's just low carb? And so there's a lot of different things in there. Bone density is probably one of the biggest ones. Acidosis is another one. As you start having more and more fats and proteins and carbohydrates in your diet, less fruits and vegetables, you're going to find your body is more acidic. There are a lot of issues with your bone density when you're acidic. There's a ton of things out there that need to be done. Go back and review my fat management program. I go into a lot of detail as to what is causing each one of those things. I got a little scale, basically what you measure your weight. You stand on it, except it's got a couple little metal pads, and I make sure that each foot touches two pads. And if I pull this thing up here very quickly, and what I have the opportunity of looking at is I can look at my weight, obviously, but then I have my body mass index, my body fat percentage, my body water percentage, my skeletal muscle percentage, my basal metabolic rate, my free fat body weight, my subcutaneous fat, my visceral fat, muscle mass, uh, bone mass, protein percentage, and basically on all those they figure an age or on these conditions. So if you're trying to really figure out where you are, just having a weight only or a measurement of your waist, that is not necessarily the healthiest way to do things. And so I would recommend, and what I bought was about $20. I did a lot of research on it, and they run way over $100. But look at the reviews, and there's some things out there that are actually very, very good. And I every Monday morning I get on that thing, and so now I have about a 6 or 7 week trend. And when I begin to do something here very, very shortly, I will actually be able to say, okay, here was what I did in a normal environment. I incrementally changed this. What did that do to my overall health? Okay, now I want to incrementally change something else. So if you incrementally change something, stick with it for about 21 days, 3 weeks, look and see what's happening. And is it going in the right direction or not? Stress, something we all have. Stress affects so many aspects of our life, whether we sleep. If you have something that's constantly stopping you from sleeping, you can't get rid of it when you're laying down, your head's on the pillow, that's probably something that you really need to address. Headaches, heart rate, fatigue. Is your stomach upset all the time? Do you feel like you're constantly in tension, irritable, moody? Uh, Sometimes these things drive us to eat our comfort food. Sit there and pull out a bag of potato chips or ice cream or whatever. We have a bit of addictive behavior because I used to exercise. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm just sitting on watching TV. A lot of vision. Dehydration is a big one. Lots and lots and lots of things come in. And if you don't take charge of them now, the issues that are going to derive down the road from continually being in that stress are depression, anxiety, maybe even panic attacks. So it's a matter of recognizing what is your current behavior. Are you spending more time in that comfort zone you don't want to be in with regard to food? Are you spending more time watching TV than you did? Is that one of those things you can give up? TV is a major stressor in life, particularly when you watch the news. If it bleeds, it leads. Those are things that are out there that they are focused on. They want to get your attention. Do you really need to know there was 10 cars in a car wreck, and today I happened to be passing by and TV happened to be on? I really don't watch TV during the day. I try to do it after 9 o'clock at night, but we had house guests and TV was on. I guess there was a Coors beer truck that had beer scattered who knows how long up and down the highway. And obviously they thought that was kind of neat, having beer all over the road. But anyway, just there with politics in your life, with all things going on, let it go. Just you have to find a stress relief management program that you can do daily. Smiling, laughter are easy. Sometimes you have meditation, sometimes just reading, taking a quick 7, 8 minute nap, getting outside in the sunshine, walking. Exercise is a great stress relief. But these are things that we need to be doing to help us sleep better, to digest our food better, to have better relationships, to keep our health going. And those are things, again, it's in your purview. You have control over it, but you have to be able to handle it. You have to be, it's not what happens to you, it's what you hold on to. You have to let it go. And so if you can't let it go and it sticks with you, whether it's a person, a thing, an event, whatever it may happen to be, recognize it for what it is. It's a stress, but your actions of you holding on to it, it's going to do harm to your body. Stress management. I mentioned a minute ago, smiling is probably the easiest way. You can't have two. You can't have a negative and a positive thought in your brain at the same time. When you have a negative thought, it shows on your face. Your facial expressions give everything away. Body language, you're like this. Smile, laugh. If you smile, all of a sudden, you're forcing the muscles to go back up into the brain, and it's sending a different reaction. You might be pissed at something or someone, but you can't maintain it very long. I'm going to a funeral over this weekend. Next, I'm leaving immediately after the show, uh, because of the emotional involvement of the death and everything else is there. I'm going to be spending a lot of time smiling internally, if not try to have that, because I know that it's going to diffuse the real feelings. I've done this many times. Death of my parents, brothers and sisters. If you smile, you kind of just mediate that stress. Uh, so if you can reduce media attention, great. Breathing exercises, pranayamas, or India, let's say Indian. There's 7 or 8 different kinds of breathing where you take in, hold it so long, let it go. You exhale like Darth Vader. You have a bumblebee sound. There's several things you can do on the breathing exercises. YouTube is a great one. Put in breathing exercises, stress management, uh, emotional freedom techniques, stress management. Lots and lots of things there that are free. You sit there and you watch somebody go through the episode of tapping their body as they're going through a certain mantra, or you go through the breathing exercises, and just so many different free ways to do it. Now, when I do EFT, I usually set aside about 10 minutes because I found out that it takes me about 8 minutes for emotional freedom techniques to work for me. And as I go through it, I can, over time, I've just known that takes about that long. So if I set aside that much time, and whether it be I come out of the gym in the morning, I got a really busy day, I shut everything off, and I just sit there and concentrate on what I need to do, put my timer on my phone, and I'll sit there and do that, whatever program I want to do. And then the rest of my day is to myself. Uh, Time management, again, an area, if we're getting stressed because we don't have enough time to do things, maybe time management is an area or a skill that you need to improve. If relationships are things that are causing your stress, maybe that's time to reevaluate everything. Do you need to be in close approximation with the people who upset you the most? Uh, I know you can't avoid your boss, you can't avoid your spouse, you can't avoid your kids, can't avoid some of your coworkers. A lot of things you can't avoid, but again, it's not the stress of the situation, it's what you're not willing to release. So you actually let that go, whether you do it 2 minutes, 2 hours later. You need to get that stress out of your body. Where to get started? One of the first things that I would strongly recommend for everyone, if you haven't had an annual physical exam, get one. I have not missed one since 1968. Uh, that was when I went up to my first flight physical, trying to get into the military. I went up there and went with my best friend. He flunked. He was 4F. I passed. I got an invitation to Vietnam. He stayed home. Uh, but we both had a flight physical. The next year, I had a flight physical, and then until 1999, when I retired from the military, I had a flight physical every one of those years. And once you get in the habit of things, you don't give them up. So in 2000, I started my civilian annual physicals, and here more recently, I've added cardio, cardiovascular treadmill and those kinds of things. So a lot of things that are in there. But our health and wellness, health is a certain definition. Wellness can be much broader. But when looking at, you can go in for a health and wellness checkup. It's not a full medical exam, but there are things that are worth noting. And so maybe what you do is you have an annual physical in January, and in July you just have a health and wellness checkup. When I was in corporate world, I would take in my annual physicals from the military, and 6 months later I'd have my corporate physicals that I had to have. Dental exams. With COVID, I got out of my dental every 6 months of being in the dental for cleaning and exam. I actually finally got back into the dentist literally with last about 3 weeks ago. And so COVID stopped a lot of things. It did not stop my dermatology appointments. Being a redhead, I'm subject to a lot of actinic keratosis, skin cancers and things, and I need to find those quickly in order to have something done about it before they get to be a problem. Cancer screenings, a lot of different kinds out there. Look at your family history, talk to your doctor about it. What are things that can be done? One of the things that I always add to my annual physicals is a C-reactive protein test, CRP. When your body has inflammation, it's going to create this C-reactive protein. It can be measured, simple blood test, probably under $20 most places. You don't need a doctor to have it done, but you want that end result to be as close to zero as possible. It stays near zero, chances are you don't have a cancer, you don't have any issues. But it's one of those things that if you don't have a history of it, okay, let's say you last 5 years has been 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and now all of a sudden it's a 10. There's something wrong. CRP will tell you where it's at, but it will tell you you have something that needs attention. Vision test as you get older, cataracts, glaucoma, a lot of things in there. I've had more vision tests here in the last 2 years than I had one every single year with the military for my flight physical, but it wasn't a typical vision test with my regular doctor. But as you get old enough, somewhere around 65, 70, you ought to have a cardiology baseline and make sure that, okay, if something happens, now you know where everything was nice and healthy, or if not, you know where you were here. So long as you know where you are, you can tell when the trending is starting to go off. Bone density, there are so many things that we do that lead to a bone density problem, and most of it has to do with an unequal portion of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats to our fruits and vegetables. So if you're overly indulgent in the meat and potatoes kind of food versus your spinach and blueberries kind of options, then over time you're going to find that calcium is leached out of your bones in order to maintain proper pH of your blood. And over time, you're actually going to end up with weaker bones. I was surprised the first time I had a post-flight physical. I said, well, let me get a bone density test. I've never had one. And I was osteopenic. It floored me. I couldn't figure out somebody who was running, literally 5 miles every day or more for decades and lifting weights on a regular basis. How could I possibly be osteopenia? Well, when I started researching it, I found out what is chemically causing calcium to go into the bones. And if it's not going into the bones, it's going into your heart valves and arteries. And then how you keep it in the bones is just as important as how it gets there. And so those things are very, very critical. Sleep. If you're not getting consistent sleep, your body can't do what it needs to do. It needs to repair and restore everything. So when you sleep at night, that's when your body goes into repair mode. So if you're laying in bed and something's keeping you awake, it's probably a stressor you need to concentrate on. If you wake up from a dead sleep, what is it? Well, in many cases, it may be just a little bit too much alcohol. Your body treats it as a poison. As soon as you're done processing it through your liver, now your digestive system wakes up again. And sometimes that's enough to just wake you up from a dead sleep. But there may be a pill you took 6 hours ago that finally wore off. Blue lights, white lights, temperature, a lot of factors in your bedroom that can disrupt and I wouldn't say destroy sleep, but make it have a lower quality of sleep. You need sulfur-laden vegetables, your cruciferous vegetables, onions and mushrooms and cauliflower and asparagus and things. That sulfur is what is there for repairing your muscles. So as you start an exercise program, you need that extra sulfur in order to get into your body and end up where it needs to be. Short naps, other distractions. Generally speaking, a short nap, anything under 15 minutes, is not going to interfere with your sleep later in the day. If you're going to take a long nap, about a 90-minute segment is probably not enough to distract your normal sleep cycle. But if you're taking an hour or 2 hour, you probably are going to disrupt it. In other words, if you go to bed every night at 10 o'clock, you're probably going to find that you can't get to sleep as easily as you did. If you eat later at night, within 3 hours of going to bed, food might be something that digestive process is not letting you go to sleep. Sometimes people get a little regurgitation up, a little stomach acid in the throat, and it's more mechanical because you have food still in your stomach, and all of a sudden you turn over and you're mechanically forcing the muscles to compress the stomach, and now you have that acid that floats back up and gets stuck up in here, and that's definitely something that'll wake you up. Again, just already mentioned alcohol. Toxins. It's like, what was the old one? Used to be a song back. He's everywhere. He's everywhere. Chicken Man. Used to be a thing. Chicken Man. He's everywhere. He's everywhere. Toxins are everywhere. They're in the air we breathe. They're in the clothes we put on. They're in the underarm deodorant, shampoo, toothpaste. They're in the foods we eat. They're all over the place. Personal care products abound. Cleaning supplies. The water in your municipal water supply probably has over 100 different prescription drugs in it. Again, something that's a toxin, but it's never measured, it's never taken out of the water because they can't. But the fabric softeners, the candles you burn, everything around you that you can smell, touch, and taste probably has a toxin. Part of what we're doing here is awareness and education. The biggest way that you can eliminate toxins in your personal health world is to read labels. Toxins are added for taste, to make something creamier, to smoother, to taste better, to look better. So the toxins are there. And it's interesting because Europe forbids about 1,200 toxins that our normal food processing industry adds every single day. You look at a particular food product in a package, say in France or Germany or England, and it might have 5 items in it. That exact same product from the same company sold in America has 21 or 25 different chemicals in it. Why can't they sell the same thing with less chemicals that they do over in Europe? Because we don't have the same regulations to keep those toxins out of our system. Carrageenan is a big one in ice cream. Oh, it makes it taste so smoothie and velvety. It's amazing what it does to our taste and texture of our tongue. But again, it's a carcinogen, but we still put it in there. It's amazing. I wish I could figure out a way to remove some of them. Next week, we're going to go for a little bit deeper dive into awareness and education as to what can we do. Now, I've covered the macro viewpoint, 30,000 feet, come down to these are the places we can take a really good start at things. But just as I mentioned a minute ago about bone density, let's get into what can we actually do. Let's take that education a little step further so that we know, okay, fine, if I'm going to be doing this, what options do I have and why do I have those options? If I elect not to do that, what is my risk? And that's what I want to do over the next couple of weeks. We'll maybe get into a little bit about how we talk to our brain, how do we improve our immune system, tweak it just a little bit better. So those are the things that I intend to dive into. And let's see here, I know I have another 1 or 2 slides to go. If you need to get in touch with me, red.olaughlin.com is my website. That's RedOlaughlin.com, red.olaughlin.com. One of my emails that I check on a regular basis is red@red.olaughlin.com. A couple of books that I have, The Joy of Ageless Health talks about your stress, toxins, radiation, infection, inflammation, diet, and expectations as the primary cause of a lot of diseases. Longevity Secrets for Healthy Aging covers the two primary causes of aging, your human growth hormone creation in the body, production of it, and the telomere length at the end of each one of your DNA. So those are two books that I come out with. I have several more that will be coming out here very shortly, talking more in the area of Alzheimer's and what was the other one? A couple of the fat management one. I wrote a book 10 years ago on how to lose weight and keep it off. I did a talk on it. I published an ebook on it, but I never came out with a paperback. So I'm in the process now of finishing up the edits on that one. So with that, I am going to turn it back over to the USA Global TV and Radio Network. And Talking Heads program for today has finished, and I look forward to joining everybody next week. Same time, same bat channel, same bat station. So take care. Bye now.